Hello, DMG's Jim here. Continuing on, 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, Chapter 8, the final chapter. Bastions, my least favorite chapter, but that's okay. Some of you guys are going to love it, so we're going to try to read through what's in the book, get in the details about it, and then try to give you guys a little bit of advice to keep in mind as you implement these into your campaign. So let's get to it. The meat and the potatoes, the special facilities descriptions. Special facilities are presented in alphabetical order. The special facilities table lists all the special facilities presented in this section along with their prerequisites and orders. Some facilities confer additional benefits specified in their descriptions. So real quick, a lot of stuff here, y'all. Remember, when your players turn chapter level 5, they get a Bastion. And when they get their Bastion, they get 2 of these special facilities. And when they level up, they get to add more, up to a total of 6 of them, I believe. But at chapter 8, the players are limited to an arcane study, an armory, a barracks, a garden, a library, a sanctuary, a smithy, a storehouse, and a workshop. The prerequisites are listed here. For example, arcane focus or spellcasting focus is required to be able to build an arcane study as a special facility. To use a sanctuary, you need a holy symbol druidic focus as a spellcasting. So one is your arcane, one is your divine. And those are the only 2 in the first batch. The orders are given off to the right. You have crafting for arcane study. You can trade with an armory. You can recruit with a barracks. You can harvest at a garden. You can research it as a library. You can craft at a sanctuary. You can craft at a smithy. You can trade at a storehouse, and you can craft at a workshop. 9 takes us up a little bit higher. We get a gaming hall, a greenhouse, a laboratory, a sacristany, a scriptorium, a stable, a teleportation circle at level fucking 9, a theater, a training area, and a trophy room. So again, special requirements. A sacristany is use a holy symbol druidic focus as a spellcasting focus. A gaming hall can be used to trade. A greenhouse can be used to harvest. A laboratory can be used to craft. A sacristany can be used to craft. A scriptorium can be used to craft. Stables are used to trade. Teleportation circles can be used to recruit. A theater and a training area are both be used to empower, and a trophy room can be used for research. Level 13, archive, no requirement. Meditation chamber, no requirement. Menagerie, no requirement. An observatory requires a spellcasting focus. And a pub requires no requirement. A reliquary requires a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus. And for these, an archive can be used to research. A meditation chamber is used to empower. A menagerie is used to recruit. Observatory is used to empower. A pub is used for research. And a reliquary can be used to harvest. And here at level 17, we get our demiplane. Ability to use an arcane focus or a tool of spellcasting focus for empowerment. A guild hall requires expertise and a skill, in which case you can recruit. A sanctum requires the holy symbol or druidic focus as a spellcasting focus and can be used to empower. And the war room requires a fighting style and unarmored defense, in which case you can recruit. Okay, this is going to be a lengthy section. We're going to read through each of the special facility descriptions here. I'm going to let your imaginations roam. Some of y'all will probably be like, cool. Some of y'all will be like, what the F? That's okay. You're going to feel, each DM's going to feel differently about Bastions. Some people are super excited about them. Some absolutely despise them. You'll find your way. They'll find their way into your campaigns and your worlds as you see fit. One bit of comment. This is up to you, not the players. If Bastions were obligated and required for gameplay purposes for players, they would have been in the player's handbook. They're listed in the Dungeon Master's Guide because they're up to us to implement. If our campaigns support them time-wise, if our world building supports them economically and socially, then by all means add them. But if they're going to cause any sort of thing in your campaign plan, players don't need them. Again, I'm going to just repeat that little bit. They are in the Dungeon Master's Guide, which means they're up to us to implement. They are not obligated for your players, hence they're not in the player's handbook. So, let's get to the facilities themselves. Arcane Study, Level 5 Bastion Facility. Prerequisites, the ability to use an arcane focus or as tool as a spellcasting focus. The space is roomy. The hirelings includes 1 hireling, and the order is to craft. An arcane study is a place of quiet research that contains 1 or more desks and bookshelves. Arcane Study Charm. After spending a long rest in your bastion, You gain a magical charm that lasts for 7 days until you use it. The charm allows you to cast Identify without expending a spell slot or using material components. You cannot gain this charm again while you still have it. Craft options. When you issue the craft order to this facility, choose one of the following options. Craft Arcane Focus. You commission this facility's hirelings to craft an Arcane Focus. The work takes 7 days and costs no money. The Arcane Focus remains in your bastion until you claim it. Or Craft Book. You commission the facility's hirelings to craft a blank book. The work takes 7 days and costs you 10 gold pieces. The book remains in your bastion until you claim it. Or Craft Magic Item. Arcana. If you're level 9 or above, you can commission this facility's hirelings to craft a common or an uncommon magic item chosen by you from the arcane tables in Chapter 7. The facility has the tools required to craft the item, and the hirelings have the proficiency with that tool and the proficiency in the arcana skill. See Crafting Magic Items section in Chapter 7 for the time and money that must be spent to craft the item. If the item allows its user to cast any spells from it, you must craft the item yourself. Your player character must be doing the one crafting it for the spell. The facility's hireling can assist, and you must have all those spells prepared every day you spend crafting the item. Next one is an archive. This is a level 13 Bastion facility. Prerequisite none, space rooming, hirelings 1. Order is research. An archive is a repository of valuable books, maps, and scrolls. It's usually attached to a library behind a locked or secret door. Research, helpful lore. When you issue the research order to this facility, you can commission the facility's hireling to search the archive for helpful lore. The work takes 7 days. The hireling gains knowledge as if they had cast the legend lore spell, then shares this knowledge with you next time you speak to them. Reference book. Your archive contains 1 copy of a rare and valuable reference book, which gives you a benefit while you and the book are in your bastion. You can choose one of the following options, or your DM might make more options available. Big B's Handy Arcana Codex. You have advantage on any intelligence arcana checks you make when you take the study action to recall lore about spells, magic items, eldritch symbols, magical traditions, and planes of existences. The Chronepsis Chronicles. You have advantage on any intelligence history check you make when you take the study action to recall lore about historical events, legendary people, ancient kingdoms, past dispute, wars, and lost civilizations. Investigations of the Inquisitive. You have advantage on any intelligence investigation check you make when you take the study action to make deductions based on clues or evidence, or to recall lore about traps, ciphers, riddles, and gadgetry. The Material Musings of the Nature of the World. You'll have advantage on any intelligence nature checks you make when you take the study action to recall lore about terrains, plants, animals, and the weather. The Old Faiths and Other Religions. You have advantage on any intelligence checks you make when you take the study action to recall lore about deities, rites, and prayers, hierarchies, holy symbols, and the practices of secret cults. Enlarging the facility. You can enlarge your archive to a vast facility by spending 2,000 gold pieces. If you do so, you gain 2 additional references books from the chosen list above. Okay, Armory. We're going to get to the Armory and Barracks, and then we'll roll back and do a little bit of a talk. I'm going to do 4 of these at a time so we can get into some details on each. The Armory. Level 5 Bastion facility. Prerequisites none. Space roomy. Hireling 1. Order. Trade. An armory contains mannequins for displaying armor, hooks for holding shields, racks for storing weapons, and chests for holding ammunition. So your order is trade. Stock armory. When you issue the trade order to this facility, you commission the facility's hireling to stock the armory with armor, shields, weapons, and ammunition. This equipment costs you 100 gold pieces plus an extra 100 gold pieces for each bastion defender in your bastion. If your bastion has a smithy, the cost is then halved. While your armory is stocked, your bastion defenders are harder to kill. When any event causes you to roll dice to determine if your bastion loses one or more of its defenders, roll 1d8 in place of each d6 you would normally roll. When the event is over, the equipment in your armory is expended regardless of how many bastion defenders you have or how many you lost, leaving your armory depleted until you issue the trade order to the facility and pay the cost to restock it. The last one we're going to look at in this video is going to be barracks. Level 5 Bastion Facility. Prerequisite none. Space roomy. Hireling 1. Order recruit. A Bastion can have more than one barrack, each of which is furnished to serve as sleeping quarters for up to 12 Bastion defenders. The order is recruit. Recruit Bastion defenders. Each time you issue the recruit order to this facility, up to 4 Bastion defenders are recruited to your Bastion and assigned quarters in this barrack. This recruitment costs you no money. You can't issue the recruit order from this facility if it's fully occupied. If all 12 beds are full, you cannot continue recruiting. Keep track of the Bastion defenders housed in each of your barracks. If you lose Bastion defenders, deduct them from your roster. Assign names and personalities to your Bastion defenders as you see fit. Enlarging the facility. You can enlarge your barrack up to a vast facility by spending 2,000 gold pieces. A vast barracks can accommodate up to 25 Bastion defenders. Okay, so let's stop here. Let's look at a couple things. And again, this is one of those where you take the work, the body of work. We looked at expanding our facilities. We have rules for expanding our facilities up here. Remember, space cramped to roomy, roomy to vast. There is a cost and a time requirement on basic facilities. Now note, there is nothing specified on time or cost. There is a cost, but there is nothing in regards to the time on expending our special facilities. Common sense would dictate if it's going to take me 25 days to make a dining room bigger, it should take me 25 days to make my library bigger. There is nothing listed here making that rule is written, so you need to use your discretion as a DM. But let's get into a couple of things here. First and foremost, our arcane study. Okay, crafting an arcane focus is not a big deal. Crafting a book is not a big deal. Crafting magic items becomes a big deal, especially if they don't require your player to be there. If you have a low magic universe, magic items are not bought or not sold. They are occasionally traded for and usually found looted, but they're not. You don't have a closet full of magic swords in the corner to buy from. Your armor smith doesn't have magic +1 armor of every type sitting on the shelf waiting for your players to buy it. If you're running a low magic universe, crafting magic items could be problematic if you're going to allow it. Obviously, we need to look at the crafting magic items in Chapter 7 to look at the cost and the time associated with it, okay? And this craft magic items order, even though we know our Bastion orders are only supposed to take a week, the order requiring it to be 7 days does not circumvent the actual time required in Chapter 7. We're not bypassing rules prior. We're simply instigating or implementing the rules that we learned about in Chapter 7 into our Bastion in Chapter 8. Cool? Archives. Be cautious with this one. If you're running a very mystery-driven research and lore campaign, if there's a lot of lore, a lot of discovery required in your campaign, giving your players the opportunity to create books that will give them advantage on this information that you're trying to get them to learn through gameplay, this can short circuit that. If you don't care, your players don't care. If you're walking through an ancient tomb and your player's like, can I roll history to see if I recognize this statue? And you're like, go for it. Then the archive can be fun. It can give you an opportunity, your players, to use their skills more often to discover lore about your world. But if the mystery is through the adventure, then this can circumvent the adventure by allowing them to simply find out everything about the world through a die roll. That's what the archive is bringing into the table. Adding more lore through skill use rather than through gameplay. And it's up to you, it's up to your players how to keep that in mind. Armory. The armory and the barracks go hand in hand with Bastion activities. We'll get to it at the end of in a future video, but ultimately, time passes through in the world. Whether your players are at their bastions or not, there is a chance that something bad happens to your players' bastions. That it comes under attack. And if it comes under attack, bad things can happen to your defenders and ultimately to your bastion. We'll get into those in that section. But again, the thing to keep in mind is arming your people costs money. Hiring your people doesn't cost anything. You can hire up to 12 defenders per barracks at no cost to yourself. They're simply recruited and they show up and they're ready to work and they give their lives to defend your bastion for free. Not for free. Remember, we talked about it earlier. Each facility generates enough revenue on its own somehow to pay for itself and pay for its workers, to pay for its staff. So, going to stop the video here. Each of these facilities takes a little bit of time to go through. We're going to come back. Our next video will pick up at Demiplane. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. We're finishing up the 2024 Dungeons Master's Guide. We're in Chapter 8. We're in Bastions. And so far I've made it without having a heart attack or losing my shit. So yay us! Thank you for your time. Comments are appreciated. Likes, follows, subscribes. All those kind of cool things are good to us as well. But we'll see you back for the next video soon.